Have you ever wondered why the capital of the United States, one of the most powerful cities in the world, is named after a person? It's not just any person, of course. It's Washington, D.C., named for George Washington. But why him? And what does the D.C. even mean? Today, we're going deep into the story behind the name and what it reveals about the very foundation of the United States. Let's start with the basics. The city is Washington, and it's located in the District of Columbia. That's what DC stands for. The two names were chosen together back in 1791, and each one has a powerful meaning. First, Washington. This one seems obvious, right? It's to honor George Washington, but we need to appreciate just how monumental a figure he was at that moment. He wasn't just the first president. He was the living symbol of the entire revolutionary struggle. Think about it. He was the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, the man who led a ragtag group of farmers and merchants against the most powerful military on earth. He held that army together through brutal winters, devastating losses, and constant shortages of food and supplies. His leadership wasn't just about military tactics. It was about sheer willpower and an unshakable belief in the cause of independence. When the war was won, he could have seized power. Many expected him to become a king or a military dictator. Instead, he did something shocking. He resigned his commission and went home to his farm at Mount Vernon. This act cemented his reputation as a true public servant, someone who put the country before himself. So, when the time came to name the new federal capital, the commissioners in charge felt there was only one choice. Naming it Washington was their way of honoring the man universally seen as the father of his country. It was a tribute to his leadership, his sacrifice, and his character. It was a statement that the nation's new home would be built on the principles he embodied. Now, what about the DC part? The District of Columbia. Columbia was a popular poetic name for the United States in the 18th century. It was a romantic term derived from Christopher Columbus, meant to evoke the spirit of a new world, a land of opportunity and freedom, separate from the old monarchies of Europe. By naming the Federal District Columbia, the founders were making a grand symbolic gesture. They were saying this small piece of land wasn't just a place for government buildings. It was the heart of this new entity, this new idea called America. So when you put it together, Washington in the District of Columbia means the city of Washington, located in the heartland of America. It's both a personal honor and a national statement. But the story doesn't end with the name. How the city was built is just as fascinating. After the location on the Potomac River was chosen a spot, Washington himself helped select the job of designing the city fell to a brilliant French-American engineer named Pierre-Charles L'Enfant. L'Enfant had a vision that was as grand as the nation itself. He didn't want just another simple grid of streets. He envisioned a capital that would inspire and reflect the power and ideals of the new republic. L'Enfant designed a magnificent layout. He started with a traditional grid, but then overlaid it with wide diagonal avenues. These weren't just for looks. They were strategic. They connected key points and created dramatic vistas and open spaces for monuments. At the center of it all were two crucial focal points: the Capitol building, representing the people through Congress, and the President's House, later known as the White House, representing the executive leader. The whole design was a physical representation of the American system of government, with its checks and balances and its distinct branches of power. Washington himself oversaw this plan, ensuring that the city's physical form would match its symbolic importance. To truly understand why Washington deserved this honor, we need to look beyond just his title as president. His contributions were foundational. After the Revolutionary War, the young country was fragile, governed by a weak agreement called the Articles of Confederation. The states were arguing, the economy was a mess, and the nation was at risk of falling apart. Washington was called upon again. In 1787, he presided over the Constitutional Convention. His presence lent immense credibility to the proceedings. He wasn't the loudest voice in the debates, but his quiet, steady leadership kept the delegates focused on their monumental task, creating a new, stronger framework for the nation. The U.S. Constitution that emerged from that convention is the same one that governs the country today, and Washington's guiding hand was essential too. its creation. Then, of course, he was unanimously elected as the first president of the United States. In this role, he knew that everything he did would set a precedent for future leaders. He wasn't just governing. He was inventing the presidency from scratch. He established the first cabinet, asserted the president's authority in foreign policy, and insisted on being addressed as Mr. President rather than some royal-sounding title. He meticulously built the institutions of government, always focusing on public service over personal gain. One of his most important acts was his farewell address, where he warned against political factions and urged the nation to maintain its unity. And by peacefully stepping down after 2 terms, he established the principle of a peaceful transfer of power, a cornerstone of American democracy. His character was as important as his actions. Washington was known for his incredible integrity and perseverance. He faced brutal defeats during the war, like the loss of New York City. But he never gave up. He learned from his mistakes and kept pushing forward. He demanded respect for the new nation on the world stage, refusing to let American diplomats be treated as mere rebels. He insisted on proper protocol, showing the world that the United States was a legitimate nation, not a temporary experiment. He projected strength and dignity, which in turn gave the young country the credibility it desperately needed. So what can we learn from this story today? There are powerful lessons in Washington's life and leadership. First is the lesson of resilience. Washington's journey was filled with setbacks. He lost more battles than he won, but he understood that failure wasn't final. It was an opportunity to learn and adapt. His ability to keep going, to maintain morale in the face of despair, is what ultimately led to victory. It teaches us that leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about getting back up after you've been knocked down. Second is the idea of duty over title. Washington had all the fame and power he could ever want, but his focus was always on the work. He was a servant leader before the term even existed. He saw the presidency not as a prize, but as a profound responsibility to the American people. This teaches us that true leadership isn't about the perks or the prestige. It's about service, about making a positive contribution to the community you lead. Finally, Washington was a lifelong learner. He was a farmer, a surveyor, a general, and a statesman. Throughout his life, he was constantly reading, experimenting with new farming techniques, and expanding his knowledge. He showed that adaptability and a curious mind are essential qualities for anyone in a position of influence. He wasn't afraid to evolve. The naming of Washington, D.C. was more than just a tribute. It was a conscious choice to anchor the nation's capital to the ideals of its most indispensable leader: integrity, resilience, public service, and a deep commitment to the Republic. The city itself, with L'Enfant's grand design, was built to be a physical manifestation of those same ideals. Every time we see the name Washington, D.C., it's a reminder of the foundational leadership that made the United States possible, and the enduring principles the nation strives to uphold. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into history interesting, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories behind the world we live in. See you next time.